Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 140 of Be With Me in the book of Acts. And we're going to title today, Purpose Powered in Promise by a Person. A lot of P's today, but here's the deal. The context is chaos, Roman tumult, and Jewish council tumult, and all this noise around Paul. But then we have this singular focus. We have a purpose for him, and he has a promise that he's about what's ahead, and then he's powered by something. And then, most importantly, the fun thing at the end is this person of Jesus. Paul is going to get a vision of the Lord. Not a vision, the actuality. I think he sees the Lord a second time. The Lord stood by him and said, "Take courage, for as you have testified to the facts about me in Jerusalem, so you must testify also in Rome." So that's the highlight. That's where we're going here today. But before we get there, we've just got chaos. Here we go. This is Acts chapter 23. But on the next day, desiring to know the real reason why he was being accused by the Jews, this is the tribune Claudius Lysias talking, he unbound him and commanded the chief priests and all the council to meet, and he brought Paul down and set him before them. And looking intently at the council, Paul said, "Brothers, I have lived my life before God in all good conscience up to this day." And the high priest Ananias commanded those who stood by him to strike him on the mouth. So that's what Ananias does with his power. Then Paul said to him, God is going to strike you, you whitewashed wall. Are you sitting to judge me according to the law, and yet contrary to the law, you order me to be struck? Those who stood by him said, "Would you revile God's high priest?" And Paul said, "I did not know, brothers, that he was the high priest. For it is written, you shall not speak evil of a ruler of your people." Now, when Paul perceived that one part were Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out to the council, "Brothers, I am a Pharisee, a son of the Pharisees. It is with respect to the hope and the resurrection of the dead that I am on trial," which is true. But he said it just to divide the council. And when he said this, a dissension arose between the Pharisees and Sadducees, and the assembly was divided. For the Sadducees say there's no resurrection, nor angels, nor spirit, but the Pharisees acknowledge them all. Then a great clamor arose, and some of the scribes of the Pharisees' party stood up and contended sharply. "We find nothing wrong with this man. What if a spirit or an angel spoke to him?" And when the dissension became violent, again, this is what people are doing with their power, the tribune, so now this is a Roman guy. Tribune is the Roman guy in charge of 1,000 soldiers, afraid that Paul would be torn to pieces by them. This is the same guy that almost had Paul scourged the day before. Commanded the soldiers to go down and take him away from among them by force. So this is what the Roman leader does with his force, is he separates Paul from the Jews and brings them into the barracks. The following night, and this is the highlight verse, not that the rest of the Bible is not a highlight. The following night, the Lord stood by him and said, "Take courage, for as you have testified to the facts about me in Jerusalem, so you must testify also in Rome." So remember, in chapter 19, Paul is making decisions and using the agency that he has in decision making. But then he says, so he's resolving to do things. I plan to go here. But then he says, I must see Rome. It's almost as if, and I think maybe the Lord gave him an idea that he must certainly finish in Rome. And in 2023, he says, the Holy Spirit testifies to me that imprisonment and afflictions await. So what is promised to Paul? What's promised to him is persecution, imprisonment, and affliction. And I want to keep that in mind today. So today I see people using their force. So the question is, with what energy, with what resources will you bring to bear? Maybe it'll be invisible things like obedience and following and submission or honesty or secret integrity or love or maybe listening. You have agency and power today, so do I. And it's what am I going to do with that energy that the Lord has given me? So that's the first P. The second is the promise. And I think of the afflictions that my brothers and sisters that I am aware of, that they are facing, some financial, many health related, some aging and the wheels falling off their bus. And here, even in addition to this, we see Paul has imprisonment, but certainly everybody that you know, including yourself, has some afflictions. The good things that you're going to do are going to be in the midst of some affliction. And then we have the Lord's coming, and he says, you have a specific job, a purpose to do. You must testify. In other words, the Lord is saying to him, and he's also saying to us, I've got a specific job for you, a gifting. I've probably gifted you in a certain way for the church, or maybe like Paul here, it's actually outside the church, as his gift is outside the church in evangelism. And then the coolest thing of all is this presence. I was going to call it the presence of the Lord, but it's even more intimate than that. It's the person. So it's not this sort of warm, fuzzy, vague thing. It's the person of the Lord stood by him. And we find in the scriptures here that it's visual and it's intimate. It's close. The Lord stood by him. It was immediate. It was the following night. So the four P's today. The purpose, I have a purpose for you. For Paul, it was to acknowledge and testify. You have a purpose too. You have a promise, and the promise, unfortunately, is affliction, and it's the power. You have agency. You have energy today to utilize for the Lord. And then what if the Lord stood by us? What if the Lord stand by us? So my prayer today is, Lord, let's use our agency and our actions today and our accountability. And Lord, help us through troubles, whatever our afflictions might be, things we're going to have to bring our forces to bear. Give us a purpose. And then most importantly, Lord, please give us your presence and your actual person as you stand by us. You are near. Thanks for listening.